Good morning, all. Shall I start? How many of you are connected? Only 6, 7 are connected, Allah. Okay, I'll start. Okay, all are connected, right? Is slide visible? Can't say yes slide down.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Before starting with the relationship between users and containment, let me see what we discussed in the last class. What we discussed in the last class? We discussed about the. We discussed about. Yes, what we discussed. ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು? I'm audible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So we discussed attributes versus contained classes and the heuristics related to attributes and contained classes. So here we have studied about heuristic 4.13, 4.14, and afterwards I explained about one example of ATM for the heuristic 4.14, right? And today we will see the relationship between users and containments. So in the previous classes, you have studied what is a users relationship and what is a containment relationship. Remembering all of you? Yes, what is a user's relationship and containment relationship? So in this, in the fourth chapter, we have concentrated on these two, right? What is a user's relationship and the example for user's relationship and then the containment relationship. Remembering or not?
Yes, ma'am.
ಉಳಿದವ್ರೇನ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಣತಿ ಒಬ್ರೇ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು. ಉಳಿದವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ? ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ತಾನೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರಣತಿಗೆ ಒಬ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಎಸ್, ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸುದೀಪ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪೃಥ್ವಿನ ಸುದೀಪ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು? ಸುದೀಪ್, ಎಸ್
ಎಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
ಪೃಥ್ವಿ
ಎಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಎಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
ಯಾರು ಎಸ್ ಅನ್ನಲ್ಲ, ನೋ ಅನ್ನಲ್ಲ. ಒಬ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಣತಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತಾಳ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಪರೂಪಕ್ಕೆ ಸುದೀಪ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರ, ಉಳಿದವ್ರು ಸೈಲೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೂತ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಸ್ ಆರ್ ನೋ ಅಂತನಾದ್ರೂ ಹೇಳ್ರಪ್ಪ. ಉಳಿದವ್ರು ಹುಡುಗಿಯರು ಅಂತ ಯಾರು ಬಾಯೇ ಬಿಡದಿಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ. ಇಂಪನ, ಸಾರಾ, ಬಿ ಅಫ್ಸಂದ್ ಅಂತೂ ನನ್ನ ವಾಯ್ಸೇ ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ. ಶಿಲ್ಪಾ. Okay. So we'll see in detail about the relationship between users and containment. So before studying the relationship between the users and the containment, we'll see what is a users relationship and containment relationship that I already explained in previous classes, right? Remembering all of you? What is a users relationship and containment relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Next. Okay. Here we are concentrating on intermediate relationship that occurs between the users and containment relationship. So, for example, if you consider the classroom and its students, so what type of relationship it is? So most of you will say that it's a containment relationship. Like that, if you see the relationship between a parking lot and its car, a relationship between a gas station and its car, or if you consider the fuel station and its car. So what type of relation it is? So first one, if you consider the classroom and its students, you'll say that it's a containment relationship. Or if you consider an example of the bedroom and the alarm clock, you'll say that it is a users relationship. Similarly, we have different examples like relationship between a parking lot and its cars. Okay, we have the parking lot. In the parking lot, cars are parked. And the relationship between gas station and the cars. Or if we consider the relationship between the fuel station and its cars. So whenever the car requires fuel or the gas, it go to the fuel station or the gas station to fill up the fuel or the gas, right? Okay. Then what type of relationships these are, whether they belongs to the users relationship or the containment relationship? We'll see that. Yes. parking lot and its cars. So if we consider that car is making use of the parking lot, then we say that it is a users relationship. And if we consider the fuel station and car, so whenever the car requires, then only it goes to the fuel station and the fuel will be filled, right? So like that, we'll see what type of relations, whether they are the users relationship or the containment relationship. Or if we consider the relationship between car and its engine. So car consisting of the engine, then what type of relationship it is? Yes, car consisting of its engine.
Users
Is it a users relationship? Car consisting of engine. Here the car is not using the engine, it consisting of the engine. See here, if you consider the example of a bedroom and the alarm clock, bedroom uses the alarm clock, right? There it is the users relationship. But here see the sentence, car and its engine. Engine is present in the car itself. Then what type of relationship it is? It's a containment relationship, right? It's a containment relationship. So like that, based on the sentences, the use, we can say that whether it is a users relationship or the containment relationship. So if you consider the car and its engine, so all of you say that it is a containment relationship, but the engine can be removed from the car in much the same way that people are removed from the classrooms and the cars from the gas stations. Then what happens? See here, we are considering this example with the, or we are comparing this with the parking lots and its cars and the classroom and its students, right? So then, as we said, as I said, the car consisting of the engine and the classroom is also consisting of the students, and the next one is the parking lot also consisting of the cars. So what happens here? We have to check what happens if one of the student is removed from the classroom, or if one of the car is taken from the parking lot. Okay, and we are comparing that with the, if the engine is removed from the car, what happens? So we'll see, based on these situations, we'll see what type of relationship it is with. Okay, it is a containment relationship, but you have to check whether it is a strong containment or the weak containment. That we'll see later. Okay, so here we are considering what happens if we remove this one of the student from the classroom, or one of the car is taken from the parking lot. Okay, so we'll compare these two statements with the statement that is, if the engine is removed from the car, what happens? Okay, whether it affects the system performance or the system operation, that we have to check. Based on the condition, we'll see whether it is a weak containment or the strong containment. Okay. So then what are the solutions? Here we have the different types of statements, right? One is the relationship between the classroom and its students. Next one is between a car lot and its cars. And next one is the gas station and its car, or the car consisting of the car and its engine. So then what are the different, here we have the different types of statements. Based on the statements, you have to check whether it is a users relationship or the containment relationship, or whether it is in between the users and the containment relationship, or it is an intermediate relationship between the users and containment relationship, that we have to see. So the solution to this problem requires that designers understand that there are three relationships rather than two relationships, which involving users and containment relationships. See here. So here some of you says that it is a users relationship, some of you says that it is a containment relationship, and some of the relationships are, if you consider some of the examples, these examples will not either belongs to the users relationship or to the containment relationship. So that this type of that is a gas station and its car, this is a one type of statement or relationship. Either it is not belongs to the users relationship or containment relationship, then it is an intermediate relationship between the users and containment. Hence the designer says that instead of two relationships that are users and containment, we have three relationships. Okay, we have three, or the designer says that there exist three relationships rather than two, which involves users and containment. Okay, one example is person uses an LRAM clock. It is a what type of relationship? It is a users relationship, right? Because the person is using an LRAM clock, it is a users relationship. But if you consider the car and its engine, car consisting of the engine, then it becomes the containment relationship, right? But if you consider one more example, that is the gas station and its cars, okay, or the classroom and its students, or the parking lot and its cars. These type of relationships neither belongs to the users relationship or nor to the containment. Following all of you, have you understood the clear difference between the users relationship and the containment relationship? ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Users relationship means if you're using one object or the class is used by another object or the class, then we say that it's a users relationship. And second one is the containment relationship is what? The attributes of one object may belongs to the object itself, then we say that it is a containment relationship. Or simply we can say that if the sentence consisting of the word contains, then we say that it is simply the containment relationship. Here the car contains the engine, so it is the containment relationship. Clear? The users relationship and the containment relationship. But if you consider the example classroom and its students, okay, and the second one is gas station and its cars. So whether the gas station consisting of the cars? No, it is not always, right? Whenever the car requires the gas, or if you consider the fuel station and the car, whenever the car requires the fuel, then only the car goes to fuel station, right? Or if you consider the parking lot and its cars, okay, the parking lot is used only for parking the cars up for some time. After that, the cars will be removed from the parking lot, right? So for example, whenever you're going for shopping to the in the shopping complex, there you will park the car until your shopping completes. Once it completes, you will take away the car from the parking lot, right? See here, so these three examples, parking lot and its cars, then the classroom and its students, the gas station and its cars. These three type of relationships belongs neither belongs to the users or nor belongs to the containment relationship. These are the intermediate relationships between the users and containment. Understood? So then what type of category they are calling it as? So some groups simply consider this intermediate category as a users relationship because it doesn't exhibit the design simplifying attribute of a true containment relationship. Or some groups, they call them as composition, containment and users respectively. Or others, they will call it as containment users and users relationships. And other group will call it as containment relation, containment and users. Okay, so means there is a clear definition for the users relationship and the containment. But for these three examples, that is parking lot, cars and classroom, students, gas station and cars, for these three examples, some groups or some designers, they will treat it as a users relationship, or some designers will treat it as a containment relationship, or some designers will say that it is a composition relationship. So like based on their understanding, they are going to define these relationships. Okay, understood? So even some of the designers says that they are the strong containment and weak containment and uses. What is a strong containment and weak containment? We'll see that. Okay, so somebody will say that it is a strong containment and somebody says that it is a weak containment relationship. We'll see what is when the containment relationship is said to be a strong containment relationship and when the containment relationship is said to be a weak containment. So you should know the difference between the strong containment and weak containment. Okay, we'll see this. If you consider an example of classes and students, okay, If I remove the contained object, okay, so if the behavior of the containing class modified, then we say that it is a strong form of containment. If the behavior of the containing class is not modified, even if I remove one of the object, then we say that it is a weak form of containment. Understood? So consider this here. If I remove the contained object, is the behavior of the containing class modified? So for this question, if the answer is yes, then it is a strong form of containment. If the answer is no, then it is a weak form of containment. Means what? If we consider an example of a classroom and its students. So classroom consisting of number of students. If I consider an example of your class, okay, your class consisting of how many students? 8 students are there. So if I remove one of the student, then what happens? Is the behavior of the classroom affected, or is the behavior of the classroom modified? No, right? So the behavior of the classroom is not modified even if I remove a student from the classroom. Then such type of containment is said to be a weak form of containment. Understood now? It's a weak form of containment. Now let us consider an example of an engine and the car. So as you know, as we all know that the car consisting of the engine. If we remove the engine itself from the car, is the behavior of the car affected? Yes or no? So the behavior of the car is affected. No, if we remove the engine itself from the car, then what happens? Can we start the car without the engine?
No.
Can we start the car without the engine? It is not possible, right? Means there the behavior of the car is affected. So hence it is called as the strong form of containment. Understood? But if you consider the students and the classroom relationship, as I said, if you consider the your own example, MTech class consisting of 8 students. If I remove one of the student from the classroom, is the behavior affected? It is not, right? Simply I can engage the class. Even if one student is there, or two students are there, or three or seven students are there, all the students are there, the behavior will not be affected. Then such type of relationship is said to be a weak containment relationship. Understood the difference between strong containment and the weak containment? Any doubt? You know the relationship, users relationship, right? What is the users relationship and what is the containment relationship? Then strong form of containment relationship and weak form of containment relationship. Any doubt here? Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And intermediate relationship between the users and containment relationship. For that, if we consider an example of fuel station and the car, or the parking lot and cars, these are the two relationships for an example of the intermediate relationship between the users and the containment. Oh, okay, understood now? Artha aita? Yes, all of you. So here, we in the previous classes we have discussed or explained about the users and the containment relationship, right? Today, here we are concentrating an example for the relationship which placed between the users and containment relationship. So the example for this is a gas station and its cars, or if you consider the parking lot and its cars, these are the two relationships that place or that falls between the users and containment relationship. Understood the relationship between users and containment? And we are considering one more relationship, that is the intermediate relationship that falls between the users and containment relationship. Understood? Any doubt in this?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. We'll move on to the last topic of the chapter called as containment by value versus containment by reference. So here we'll see the containment by value and containment by a reference. So first we'll see what is a containment by value. Next we'll see what is the containment by a reference. So containment by value implies that an object contains another object. Okay. So if car is an object, if it consisting of another object, then we say that it is a containment by value. Okay. Next, containment by reference implies that an object contains a pointer to another object. Okay. It is just like yesterday, it passed by value and passed by reference. Nenpidiya? Yes, Sarah? Hello?
Hello. Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it is containment by value and containment by reference is just like the pass by value and pass by reference that you already studied, right? So just like that, we have the containment by value and containment by reference. The containment by value means an object contains another object, then we say that it is a containment by value. And containment by reference means an object contains a pointer to another object is called as the containment by reference. Okay. Shilpa, understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, containment by value requires that an object lives and dies together with another object. As I said, if car object consisting of another object, then it is a containment by value. Then the car object lives and dies with another object because the car object consisting of another object itself. So if the car dies, then the object which it contains also dies. Understood? Clear? So containment by value requires that an object lives and dies together with the another object. But containment by reference allows for optional pieces of objects, the sharing of one object by a group of other objects. So best example is an object sharing. Then containment of an abstract class and the weak form of containment. So for example, here if we consider that the containment by reference allows optional pieces of objects, then the sharing of one object by a group of other objects. So suppose if I say that the car object, or if you consider the alarm clock object, then that alarm clock object is shared by a group of other objects. Then the containment of an abstract class and it is the weak form of containment. So we'll say that it is a weak form of containment because if one object is removed, then it will not affect the other objects. But what happens in containment by value? In the containment by value, the objects lives and dies together with another object itself because the object consisting of another object itself. So whenever the object lives or whenever the object is lives or dies, then the object which consisting of also lives with and dies with another object. But most of the language do not distinguish between these two flavors of containments, that is weak containment and another the containment by value and containment by reference. Then most of the languages are not distinguishing between these two types of containments, and most of them will support only the containment by reference. Okay, so even two types of containments are there, that is containment by value and containment by reference, but the languages will not distinguishing between them, and most of the languages supports what type of containment? They support the containment by reference only. But if you consider the C++, it allows the explicit distinction between the containment by value and containment by reference. Understood? So C++, whenever we are using the C++ language for the implementation, so it clearly differentiates between the containment by value and containment by reference. Understood? Containment by value and containment by reference. Simple one. If one object consisting of another object, then we say that it is containment by value. If one object is pointing to a or if the object contains a pointer of another object, then we'll say that it is the containment by reference. If the object consisting of the object directly, then it is a containment by value. But if the object consisting of the address of another object, then we say that it is a point containment by a reference. Understood? Any doubt in this? Containment by value and containment by reference?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all the topics are completed in this fourth chapter. We'll see the summary of heuristics. What are the heuristics you have studied in this chapter? Totally, you have studied 14 heuristics. 14, right? 14 heuristics in this chapter. For heuristic 4.1 says that minimize the number of classes within which another class collaborates. Heuristic 4.2 says that minimize the number of messages sent between a class and collaborator. Third one is minimize the amount of collaboration between a class and its collaborator, that is the number of different messages sent. Then minimize the fan out in a class, that is the product of number of messages defined by the class and the messages they send. What will be the maximum fan out the designer expects? It should be a 70. Yes, 70. Maximum fan out should be a 70. And the maximized number of messages sent between the two classes is 6, right? 6. But even if that, some of the designers have for 7 plus or minus 2 means along with 7 messages plus 2 messages can be added, or minus 2 messages can be deleted. Okay, means the number of messages that can be transmitted between the objects or the classes are ranging from 5 to 9. That is 7 plus or minus 2 indicates 5 to 9 messages can be interacted or can be transmitted between the objects or the classes. Okay. Next, 4.5, heuristic 4.5 says that if a class contains objects of another class, then the containing class should be sending messages to the contained objects. That is, the containment relationship should always implies a users relationship. So for this, I explained in the previous class the ATM machine, which consisting of 3 objects like card reader, display, and keypad, where the ATM machine is the containing class and the objects are card reader, then keypad, and the display, right? So here the contained objects can send the message to the containing class, then the containing class is sending the message to the remaining contained objects. So here we are always using the implies a relationship. Understood? Next, 4.6 says that most of the methods defined in a class should be using most of the data members most of the time. Means for a class, when we define the methods, then those methods are using the data members most of the time. Then based on the usage, we are dividing the classes and the data member either horizontally or in a vertical manner. Next, 4.7 says that classes should not contain more objects than a developer can fit in his or her short-term memory. A favorite value for this is 6. So here, once again, the class should not consisting of more than 6 objects. Next, distribute the system intelligence vertically down narrow and deep containment hierarchies. So this heuristic concentrates or stresses upon the 2 types of containment category or containment hierarchy. So first one is the broad and shallow hierarchy. Second one is the narrow and deep hierarchies. Okay. And 4.9, when implementing semantic constraints, it is best to implement them in terms of class definition. Often this will lead to a proliferation of classes, in which case the constraint must be implemented in the behavior of the class usually, but not necessarily in the constructor. So when we are implementing the semantic constraints, then it leads to the proliferation of class problem. So for that, we have considered an example of a meal class, right? There we are putting the constraints, semantic constraints, that peas and corn should not be used together, right? That example we are considered. There, as I said, we are go on creating more number of classes. So if n types of vegetables are there, then it leads to 2 power n minus 2 classes are going to be created. Then that leads to the proliferation of class problem. So in order to avoid that, what we have to do, we have to implement the constraint in the behavior of the class itself, but not in the constructor. Okay. Next, when we implementing semantic constraint in the constructor of the class, place the constraint test in the constructor as far down a containment hierarchy as the domain allows. Means here we have to put the constraints as low as in the containment hierarchy. Means at the lowest level of the hierarchy, we have to place this constraint. Next, the semantic information on which a constraint is based is best placed in a central third-party object when the information is volatile. So when the information is volatile, we have to place it in a third-party object. That is heuristic 4.11. And 4.12 says that the semantic information on which a constraint is based is best decentralized among the classes involved in the constraint when that information is stable. Then a class must know what it contains, but it should not never know who contains it. So for that, we have taken the example of bedroom and alarm clock. Here, the bedroom must know that it consisting of the alarm class, but the alarm clock should not be dependent on the bedroom. So if it depends on the bedroom, then we can't reuse the alarm clock at different places, right? Then the last one is heuristic 4.14 says that objects that share lexical scope, those contained in the same containing class, should not have users relationship between them. So for that we have considered an example of once again the ATM machine, right? So there, if we want to satisfy the heuristic 4.14 and 4.1, then heuristic 4.13 will be violated. If it is violated, then only we can satisfy the heuristic 4.1 and 4.14. And if we want to satisfy heuristic 4.30, then the heuristic 4.14 and 4.1 will be violated. So, means in turn, all the heuristics cannot be satisfied at a single point of time. So, if we satisfy one, then the other heuristics may be violated. If other heuristics are satisfied, then some of the heuristics should be violated. So this is about the list of heuristics that you have studied in this chapter. So this completes the chapter. So what are the topics you have studied in this chapter? So you have studied the introduction to classes and object relationships, then the users relationship, then you have studied 6 different ways to implement the users relationship, heuristics for the users relationship, refining the amount of collaboration between the two classes, then the containment relationship, semantic constraints between classes, attribute sources contained classes, more containment heuristics, then the relationship between users and containment, and the last one is containment by value versus containment by reference. So these are the topics you have studied in the chapter number 4. Okay, so this completes the 4th chapter, and next we'll move on to the 5th chapter. Shall I start? Any doubt in 4th chapter?
No, ma'am.
Any doubt in 4th chapter?
No, ma'am.
No, what about others? ಒಬ್ರದಷ್ಟೇ ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಉಳಿದವರು? Any doubt? Shilpa, Afsa?
No, ma'am.
Okay, understood all of you? Okay, then shall I start the new chapter? Chapter number 5. Shall I start now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The chapter number 5 is the inheritance relationship. So basically in this chapter, you're going to study about what is the inheritance relationship, and the examples for the inheritance relationship and all that you're going to study. We'll see what are the topics you're going to study in this chapter. So first you're going to study about introduction to inheritance relationship. Next, overriding base class methods in derived classes, the use of the protected section of a base class, then the width and depth of inheritance hierarchies, then private, protected, and public interface, public inheritance. We'll consider an example of C++. Then a real world example of specialization. Then heuristics that trade off design complexity and flexibility. A real world example of generalization. Then the mechanism of polymorphism. Problem with the use of inheritance as a reusability mechanism. An inheritance solution to an interrupted driven architecture, inheritance hierarchies versus attributes, the confusion of the need for inheritance versus object dynamic semantics, using inheritance to hide the representation of a class, mistaking objects for derived classes, mistaking object generalization for the need to build classes at runtime, then the attempt to knock a base class method in its derived classes, the implementation of optional parts of objects, a problem with no optimal solution, reusing components versus reusing frameworks. So it's a very big chapter. So it consisting of 20 subsections, and basically this chapter only concentrates on inheritance relationship, examples for inheritance relationship, and how we can use the inheritance relationship in the reusability, or when we are using the inheritance, what are the problem arises, means when we are using the base classes with the inheritance property, what are the problem arises that you are going to study. So all the things related to inheritance that you are going to study in this chapter. Okay, but it's a big chapter when compared to previous 4 chapters. So first we'll start with the introduction to inheritance relationship. Uh, as all of you have already studied what is the inheritance, and the examples for inheritance relationship, and what is a base class, derived class, and that you already studied, right? Once again, we'll see in brief about the inheritance relationship. So what is an inheritance relationship? It is the one of the most or more important relationships in the object-oriented paradigm, and it is used to capture a kind of the relationship, just like if you consider an example of a car. So Maruti is a kind of car, or Toyota is a kind of car, like that. EcoSport is a kind of car, like that. Okay, so we are finding we are capturing a kind of relationship between the classes by using the inheritance. Or if you consider dog is a kind of animal, or mango is a kind of fruit, or apple is a kind of fruit, like that. Okay, so it gives the kind of relationship between the classes. And the primary purpose of inheritance relationship is it acts as a mechanism for expressing commonality between the two classes. Okay, so it acts as a mechanism for expressing commonality between the two classes. Then it is called as the generalization, and it is used to specify that one class is a special type of another class. So if we use the base class and derived class, here the derived class makes use of the base class, then the derived class is called as the special type of the base class. Clear? So then it is called as the specialization. So here the primary purpose of the inheritance is that it acts as a mechanism for expressing commonality between the two classes. Then it is called as the generalization. And next one is it is used to specify that one class is a special type of another class. Then we'll say that it is a specialization. But normally the terms generalization and specializations are, these two terms are considered as synonyms for inheritance. Okay, so the generalization and specialization are called as the synonyms for the inheritance. Yeah, we'll see one example of the inheritance. Here see that we have the two classes, class A and class B, where class B inherits the properties from the class A. Okay, so if a class inherits from another class, then we have the subclass and the superclass. Now consider this example. Here class A is there, class B is there. Class B is inherits from class A. then class B is called as the subclass or the derived class. Understood? So here we are considering an inheritance relationship between the two classes. Here we have two classes, class A and class B, where class B is inheriting from class A. So the class which inherits from other class is called as the subclass or the derived class. Then if a class is inherited by another class, then that particular class is called as the base class or the superclass. Now we'll consider this example here. The class A is inherited by class B. Okay, see here. The class A is inherited by class B, or class B inherits class A. Okay, so since class A is inherited by class B, then class A is called as the superclass or the base class. Since class B is inheriting from class A, hence class B is called as the subclass or the derived class. Okay, if a class inherits from another class, then a inheriting class should be a special type of inherited class. Now, if we consider the same example here, class B inherits from class A. Then class B is the inheriting class. It should be a special type of the inherited class, that is class A. Understood? Here class B is inheriting from class A. Hence, class B should be a special type of class A because the class B is inheriting from class A. Understood? So in this example, class B is a special type of class A, meaning that all B objects are first and foremost objects of A. So since class B is inheriting from class A, hence all the objects of class B are first and foremost of class A objects. And here the inheritance relationship is said to be a class-based relationship. So in the previous chapter, we have studied two relationships, that is users relationship and containment relationships, right? Those two are an example for a object-based relationship, okay? Because when we say that it is object-based relationship, if a class consisting of n objects, and it is not necessary that all n objects should obey the relationship, then we say that it is a object-based relationship. But here, inheritance relationship is a class-based relationship. Why? Because all the objects of the class should obey the relationship. So hence, it is called as class-based relationship. Understood? So what is a class-based relationship? So in the class-based relationship, all the objects of the class are obeying the relationship is called as the class-based relationship. But in the object-based one, what happens? If any one of the object obeys, not all the objects obey the relationship, then it is said to be an object-based relationship. Whereas the inheritance relationship is a class-based relationship. Class-based relationship means all the objects of the class obeys the relationship. Okay, then such type of relationship is said to be a class-based relationship. So here this is an example of a class-based relationship. So inheritance is a class-based relationship because all the objects of the class must obey the relationship. Now what's the time? Okay, so time up, right? So the remaining examples for the inheritance relationship that we'll discuss in the next class. So Saturday I'm having the class, right? So in Saturday's class, we'll see the other examples for inheritance relationship. Now you understood, right? You already studied what is an inheritance relationship and what is inheritance relationship. So basically it is a kind of relationship, or it is capturing a kind of relationship between the classes. And the two main purpose of the inheritance relationship is it is used for expressing the commonality between the classes, and it is used to specify that one class is a special type of another class. So here we are talking about generalization and specialization, where generalization and specializations are used as the synonyms for inheritance. Okay, this is an example for inheritance. We have the class A and class B. Class B is inheriting from class A, hence class A is said to be the base class or the superclass, where class B is said to be a derived class or the subclass. Understood? Other examples we'll see it in the next class. Any doubt in this? Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
So if you no doubt, then I will end my class. You have class at 11:40, right? Well, you have one more class, right, at 11:40.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then if you have no doubt, I will end my class.